Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to this week's Ultimate Track Guide. We're here at Silverstone, another UK track, and we're back in GT4, this time in the McLaren 570S. As you all know, it's Silverstone the next couple of weeks at F1, so I thought this would be a good time to release a bit of a guide on this 5.9 kilometre circuit just for you guys, and especially in the GT4 cars as they are new. Take a little bit of getting used to. Very different to the GT3 cars on this high downforce circuit, so let's see what differences we can come up with, what sort of areas and techniques I can give you to enhance your lap times around Silverstone. So coming around the last corner here, going around Laffield through Woodcote over the start finish line. If you do like these track guides, do remember to subscribe, it really helps the channel. Over the start finish line, the first corner we're going to come to is Copse. Very fast corner, changing down one gear, avoiding the bump a little bit on the inside, although these GT4 cars can handle that bump a lot better than the GT3 cars, so you can actually change your line slightly. Through the fastest section on the track, just Maggots and Beckett's, superb section, and this section is all about identifying where to go fast and where to go slow. A lot of people slow down too much on the first little section of Maggots and Beckett's. Actually take a little bit of grass there by mistake. So let's break that down in a bit more detail then. So coming up to Copse, the first corner on the track, we're looking out for the 50-metre board on the left hand side, but actually that's not where we're going to brake. We're going to brake just in line with this first flag on the right hand side, if you like looking to the inside of the corner, or where the tyre marks on the left hand side are. Change down the gear. You can take quite a shallow line in GT4, like I said. There is a bump on the inside here, and it depends if you're if you're racing anyone. But I tend to aim just for the inside of this Astro. Like I said, you can take the bump in GT4. Just after we hit the curb, we're going to put the power down sort of 3/4, and then we're back up to full power. Run it all the way out wide. You can go all the way over that curb as long as your right wheel stays on the curb. Now, coming into Maggots, then looking for this sign on the left hand side, just to start drifting over to the left hand side of the track, just to be straight line Maggots, but go as close as you can, but don't go over that sausage curb as you'll upset the aerodynamics of the car, which are so crucial. Obviously we don't have as much air in GT4 as we do in GT3, but so crucial to keep the aero stable through here. You can cut these a lot more than you think you can, and actually this first half you can take a lot of speed through. Dab the throttle, change down into third gear just as you hit the brakes, just to get the nose of the car in. It's quite a heavy braking zone here, as you've carried more speed through the first corner through Maggots, and we're aiming to keep as shallow a line as possible through. You can cut it a little bit as well, but your aim is to set up for Beckett's and onto Hangar Straight. As soon as you know you're free from the understeer, as you will get a bit of understeer if you've taken the corner before, as quickly as you possibly can, stab the throttle, 2/3 maybe to start with, and then back on full power onto Hangar Straight just after Chapel Curve. Take a little bit of grass there by accident, but nothing too much. Have another look at it from above. You see it's quite a conventional line into the first corner. You can run it all the way out wide or over that curb. Full power, looking for the sign on the right to drift over to the left. Hold good speed through here. You see we don't drop below 112. Now's the time to brake and scrub off some speed. Couple of stabs at the throttle. When I knew I was free from the understeer though, I floored it, and out we go, opening up the steering, getting a good run onto Hangar Straight. Under the bridge, and we're into the second sort of mini section, and we're coming up to Stowe Corner, which is one of the most difficult corners on the track. Super difficult to get the nose in, and then once the nose is in, knowing when to put the power down. You can actually run all the way over the green Astro, again as long as you keep your right hand tyre on the curb. Braking then into Vale and Club Curve. Quite a technical corner in GT4 actually. It's a little bit different from GT3 as you can't carry the same amount of speed through there due to the lack of air. and across into the next little mini straight on the way to Abbey Curve. So let's break that down again. Coming down Hanger Straight here, we're coming up to Stowe. We're going to be looking out for this marker on the left and then the curb straight ahead of us. It's a little bit difficult to spot because we are doing 150 miles an hour, and it's a difficult one to judge because it's not actually any pure sort of braking zone. It's more just where you feel the car is. But don't go too wide on entry because you'll get stuck outside on the outside of the track. The idea is to get the nose stuck in, wait for the understeer to clear in these GT4s, which it's going to happen unless you've really got your car hooked up. Wait until the nose is in and you feel that grip just come to you a little bit, and then that's the time to plant the throttle. And again, you can go all the way over the curb on the left hand side here as long as that right tyre is still on the black and white checkered curb. Through Vale, which is like this little half corner straight type experience into Club Curve. Looking for the sign on the left hand side here. So the braking zone for most cars is between these two signs as a rule of thumb. And today we're going to be braking just before the curb ahead of us. I think on the curb is a little bit too late. This McLaren, you can't really adjust the brake bars too much, so we're using the throttle a little bit to stable the car on entry here. Take a stab at the throttle and you think, oh, that might be a strange place to pause, but actually we're looking for somewhere around this green zone in front of us to position the car ready for the right-hander in club. And the idea is you take as much speed through this right-hander as you can to maximise your exit speed and onto the next little mini straight. You see I change a short shift into third gear, I keep some speed and throttle as a highlight on the bottom right hand side of the screen now through this to keep the car stable, and you can use a lot more than you think on the exit. The dirty is actually those cones, so you can use the exit more to cut back in straighter for this right hander, because a lot of people take that too shallow and they end up hitting the sausage curb on the inside, which obviously isn't ideal for when you're racing, because you either will get damage or you'll lose momentum. It's coming into Stowe then, later apex than you think. As soon as you think the nose is bitten into the tarmac, floor it, you can run all the way out wide onto the sort of green Astro, braking after the sign but before the curb. Second gear, using a bit of throttle to stabilise the car, short stab of the throttle, short shift into third, then that 2/3 sort of stabilising throttle through the apex, and as soon as you think you're clear, keep turning right. It's a very smooth corner on the power as we come into Abbey Curve. Very fast corner, get the nose tucked in. As soon as you're over the curb on the right hand side, floor it, and make sure you turn in earlier than you think in these GT4s into Farm Curve, which is the left hand corner there. Braking into Village, there's Old Silstone Village just north of here, which is why that's called that, and into the loop again. 40 miles an hour, second gear, floor it if you can. You might get a little bit of oversteer, but if you're really looking for a hot lap, then you're going to have to do that. Through onto Wellington Straight. It's a very technical little section that, and it happens quite quickly, even though there's 5 or 6 corners there. So let's break it down in a bit more detail. You're looking for the area where the tarmac on the outside, the Astro there, sort of changes from grass into the green, and that's going to be your braking point. And we're going to turn pretty much soon after that. You can turn in quite early here. You can take a lot of curb on the inside, and what you're waiting for is the nose again to tuck in just as you feel you've got that grip, and then you can plant the throttle. And it's all about what you do next, because you're going to be faced with a couple of decisions here. It's all about adapting to how fast you're going. We need to turn in earlier than you think to aim for that green spot on the left, which really we do need to be taking curb here on the inside, or very, very close to it. And again, you're going to be faced with a decision: do I change up into 5th if I've got the momentum, or do I stay in 4th? And then where am I going to be on the left hand, on the side of the track? Am I going to be able to get over to the left hand side? And you're going to be faced with this decision about now, because it's going to massively change your braking point, whether you go over to that blue dot there and you can brake later then, or if you stay over to the right hand side of the track, and you obviously need to brake a little bit earlier because you're heading in to the inside of the corner. For me, I like carrying a bit more speed through sort of Farm Curb, so I tend to stay roughly on the right hand side of the track here, but you're aiming for somewhere, if you do take that line, you're aiming for somewhere in the middle of the track, and actually the braking point is roughly where the curb starts on the left hand side. I've sort of highlighted it here. You can just see it through the window, but it's more about feeling where that curb is, and that just comes through practice. Like I said, you're aiming for somewhere in the middle of the track there near that green spot, just as a turn in point. and we're going to be using the throttle as soon as we can, is straighten up the steering. You do not need to go over to the right hand side of the track here, and that's what a lot of people make a mistake in this corner. It is not quicker to go all the way over to the right hand side and then cut back through here. You're not carrying enough speed through Village if you are able to do that. So you're aiming for that green spot, braking nice and early. It is a late apex, and on the power as soon as you can, you go all the way over to the curb on the right hand side, and this little Aintree sort of flick, as I like to call it, is easy flat in GT4 as well as GT3 and onto Wellington Straight, as we previously discussed. So let's look at that from above then. Very, very fast corner, the first one here, and as you're coming through Farm Curb, you need to make this decision. Like I said, you're faced with going over to the left hand side, or as much as you can, before coming into the very slow corners. As I said, very early on the throttle there, actually leave some black marks there, so early on the throttle. Later apex through this one, and into Aintree it's obviously extremely flat. Coming down Wellington Straight, then we need to think about where we're going to be braking into Brooklands, back into Incarview, and we're braking before the sign, using the sign as our turning point. And actually go a little bit wide here, need to tuck in a little bit more, but the final corner is super difficult. You think you're doing okay, then the nose needs to tuck in, and a lot of time changing down a gear is the way to do that, although it really depends on obviously what car you're in. In this McLaren you can get away with changing into second gear, and then obviously flooring it and going back up through the gears, and we cross the line in a 208.7, which isn't too bad in this McLaren. So let's go through that final section again then. So coming into Brooklands, I'm going to pause it just here, and we're actually looking for this sign as a turn-in point, but the braking point is just before that. You need to think that actually carrying too much speed through this corner is just going to upset the entire last two corners, so you need to be a bit more, I'd say, err on the side of caution here. We're turning in, you can just see I'm moving the wheel here on the sign there, and the aim for this corner is just to roll round down the gears, trail brake quite a lot. You can see I was on that sort of 20-30% brake for a long time. We're aiming to get the front left wheel somewhere in that green circle. I actually miss it a little bit on this lap, which is unfortunate, which sets me up a little bit too close to the curb on the right hand side here. You can take curb on the inside. I change down into second, and then to stop the back end of the car just coming out, I just use a tiny little bit of throttle, and as soon as I feel the front end grip round Luffield, I start to accelerate. And actually I probably should have accelerated a little bit harder here, straight into third. You can use all of the curb on the outside, and that is a lap analysis of Silverstone Circuit in the McLaren 570S GT4. So let's go through that final sector again. Like I said, just viewing it from above, missing the apex slightly there. Taking an early apex in this one. It's definitely a double apex car, though you don't go too wide. A wet line is obviously very wide, much wider than that as well, using all the curb on the outside and away to the start finish line through what is Woodcote, and technically a corner, but obviously it's very, it's totally flat. So let's look at the lap again from Incarview in full. I won't talk too much, but just a couple of things to point out, as you can go over this bump on the first corner. Run it all the way out wide across the curb. Looking for the sign on the right to drift slowly in. You need to take speed in the first half of the section. So you need to carry good speed here. And now is the point to slow down and scrub speed off. You don't need to be slow through both of those. And obviously carrying good speed onto Hangar Straight is so important. A little bit of time to think about where you're going to brake for Stowe under the bridge. We're going to be before the curb, after the sign, getting the nose tucked in nicely. As soon as you think it's gripped, there's the time to apply the throttle. Use as much on the exit as you can. Braking before the curb, getting the nose tucked in over to the middle of the track. Don't carry too much speed, and maintain your throttle through this right hander. Turning in, keeping a constant radius through here. Don't try and take it as if it was two corners. Where the Astro changes from grass is your braking point. Turn in almost immediately. Power on as soon as you think you're free. Make your decision of where you're going to go now. Are you going to stay over to the right? Are you going to go to the left, somewhere in the middle? Power on nice and early, carry good speed on the exit here. Don't go all the way over to the right hand side of the track. Make sure you're on the power early. Lots of time to think about where you're going to brake for the final sector, which is good for some people, and obviously if you're under a lot of pressure it can be detrimental as well. Using the sign as your turn in point. Try and get a little bit more tucked in than I was here. Nice and smooth on the trail, braking through there. Again into this final corner. Change down again if you need the nose to come in. On the power, probably a little bit harder than I was there. You've got a lot of room on the exit. And away we go for another lap. What I'll do is I'll leave the overhead, the aerial helicopter view for you to run through, and I'll let you go through that yourselves. And I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope that really broke down the lap for you, especially in these GT4 cars, which are quite a lot more difficult around here because they don't hold as much downforce naturally as obviously the GT3 cars do, even though they're pretty quick in a straight line as well. So if you did like the video, guys, obviously just subscribe to the channel. It really helps. I'm growing slowly, and you know, I really want to keep that going, that consistent growth. Give the video a like, and obviously share with your friends if you want to, and comment below any feedback, anything you'd like to see on the channel, and I'll catch you next time.